Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you goes against everything the world wants you to believe. They tell you to go out, to socialize endlessly, to be everywhere, to be seen, to be available. But here's the truth no one admits. Staying home is one of the most powerful moves a man can make. Not out of fear, not out of weakness, not out of avoidance, but out of strategy. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. A man protects his power by controlling his environment. When you're home, your world is yours. Your time is yours. Your mind is yours. Your energy is yours. Outside, everything tries to distract you, drain you, use you, pull you away from your mission. Inside, you build. Inside, you sharpen. Inside, you ascend. Home isn't a retreat. Home is a fortress, if you choose to make it one. This is where you gain the advantage others can't see. This is where you become stronger while the world stays weak. This is where you rise in silence. Before we go deeper, anchor this truth in your mindset. Comment this right now. My fortress makes me powerful. Section 1. The controlled withdrawal. You need to understand something most people never realize. Staying home is not isolation. It is intentional withdrawal. It is the moment a man steps back from the noise to reclaim his clarity, his strength, and his authority. When you pull away from the world, you aren't hiding, you're preparing. You are removing yourself from the chaos that weakens most men and positioning yourself above the patterns that keep them predictable. A man who stays home with purpose becomes dangerous. He learns to enjoy silence. He becomes immune to distractions. He begins to operate on his own clock, not the world's expectations. Every hour you spend at home sharpening your mind, building discipline, and mastering your environment is an hour the average man wastes chasing validation. This is Machiavelli's law in action. Control your space, and you control your life. Home is where your plans form, where your habits rise, and where your power compounds in the dark. While others scatter their energy everywhere, you store yours, refine it, and unleash it only when necessary. Before we move forward, claim this identity by commenting, "I choose power over noise." This choice strengthens you daily. Now, Section 2. The fortress mindset. Staying home becomes powerful the moment you stop seeing it as confinement and start seeing it as command. Your home isn't four walls. It is the territory where you train your mind to become sharper, your habits to become tighter, and your goals to become non-negotiable. When you adopt the fortress mindset, you stop living like the world owns you. You stop moving according to other people's desires. You stop scattering your attention across pointless conversations, empty social gatherings, and environments that drain more than they give. Inside your fortress, everything changes. Your time slows down. Your focus strengthens. Your thoughts deepen. You begin to notice the areas of your life you've been ignoring. Your discipline, your routines, your weaknesses, your potential. And this awareness becomes weaponized clarity. Machiavelli believed that a leader's greatest power came from knowing what others overlook. When you stay home with purpose, you begin seeing patterns no one else sees. You notice your triggers, your impulses, your tendencies, and you learn to control them with cold precision. Most men never master themselves because they never stop moving long enough to face themselves. But you are building dominance in silence. You're becoming a man who operates from strategy, not impulse, from discipline, not emotion, from clarity, not chaos. Staying home allows you to craft an environment where every object, every routine, every action pushes you closer to the man you're becoming. No noise, no distractions, no wasted energy, just pure internal construction. Before we continue, anchor this phase with conviction. Comment this right now. My home builds my mind. It's time to go deeper. Section 3. The withdrawal that creates power. When you choose to stay home with intention, you're not stepping back from life. You're stepping above it. This is the type of withdrawal ancient strategists practiced before making their most decisive moves. They disappeared, not to escape, but to recalculate, re-strengthen, and return with overwhelming advantage. Most people misunderstand solitude. They think avoiding crowds means losing opportunities. But Machiavelli teaches that real opportunity is created, not discovered. And creation requires space, silence, and sovereignty. When you stay home with discipline, you become the architect of your own world. You control the influences entering your mind. You decide which ideas grow. You choose which weaknesses die. There is no randomness, only intention. Inside your controlled environment, you begin to notice the effects of living without pressure to perform. Your thoughts are no longer rushed. Your actions become meaningful. Your routines turn into rituals. You see how powerful you are when the world isn't constantly pulling at your attention. This is where dark psychology works in your favor. Most people thrive on constant stimulation. Take away the noise and they collapse into boredom, anxiety, or restlessness. But not you. You turn silence into strength. You turn routine into power. You turn isolation into transformation. A man who masters staying home masters himself. And a man who masters himself becomes untouchable. Because think about it, if you can thrive alone, who can control you? Who can manipulate you? Who can distract you? Who can sway your emotions, your choices, your direction? No one. Your fortress becomes the space where your mind becomes sharper, your discipline becomes harder, and your identity becomes unmovable. While others drain themselves socially, you conserve your power. While others rely on external validation, you build internal authority. While others chase stimulation, you build your kingdom brick by brick. This is the withdrawal that creates power. A withdrawal that turns noise into clarity, distraction into direction, and solitude into superiority. Before we move forward, lock in this psychological shift by commenting, "My silence is my strength." Section 4. The birth of inner sovereignty. There is a moment in a man's life when staying home stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like a calling, a silent demand from within, to rebuild himself from the ground up. This is the moment when sovereignty begins. Not political power, not social power, but the deepest power of all, the power over yourself. Most men never reach this stage. They are too addicted to distraction, too afraid of silence, too dependent on external stimulation to ever meet themselves face to face. They flee from solitude because solitude forces them to confront the truth. But the truth is exactly what you need to rise above the average mind. When you stay home intentionally, you step into a space where illusions fade. You see your habits clearly. You see your weaknesses honestly. You see your potential sharply. And this clarity becomes the foundation of sovereignty. This is where the transformation begins. Inside your walls, you start to notice how much power you reclaim when you are no longer giving pieces of yourself to pointless conversations, unnecessary environments, and people who drain you without offering substance. You realize how much energy you've been wasting just trying to keep up with a world that never had your best interests in mind. Home becomes the place where you no longer perform, you no longer pretend, you no longer negotiate with your lower self. Instead, you build, you sharpen, you ascend, you create routines that strengthen your discipline. You develop systems that support your mission. You establish habits that turn into weapons. Your entire life becomes optimized, structured, strategic. This is dark psychology turned inward. You study your patterns, the way a king studies threats. You analyze your impulses, the way a strategist analyzes battlefields. You confront your flaws, the way a warrior confronts an enemy. And slowly, something powerful happens. You stop being controlled by your environment and begin controlling it. You stop being influenced by noise and begin choosing what enters your mind. You stop being swayed by emotion and begin responding with calculation. This is sovereignty, the inner kind, the real kind. A sovereign man is not loud. He doesn't need to prove himself, and he doesn't chase attention. He doesn't seek approval. He is centered, grounded, certain. A silent force the world feels, even before he speaks. And this version of you is being built right now, inside your own home. Before we move on, declare this shift in your identity by commenting, "I rule my inner world." Section 5. The rise of the controlled environment. There comes a point in your evolution when staying home stops being a temporary strategy and becomes a lifestyle of controlled dominance. This is the moment when you realize something powerful. Environment shapes identity, and the man who controls his environment controls his evolution. When you step outside constantly, you expose yourself to randomness, random people, random energy, random conversations, random distractions. Every moment becomes a negotiation between your mission and the world's noise. But inside your home, inside your chosen space, there is no negotiation. There is only direction. You decide what influences you. You decide what enters your mind. You decide what your days look like, what your habits become, what standards you live by. This is Machiavellian psychology at its purest, the man who shapes his environment, shapes his destiny. Inside your controlled environment, everything begins to align. Your focus becomes sharp. Your actions become intentional. Your schedule becomes a weapon. Your routine becomes a system, designed to make you stronger every single day. This is the opposite of the chaotic world outside. Out there, people waste their time chasing stimulation. They chase attention. They chase validation. They chase any distraction. That helps them avoid facing themselves. But you face yourself daily. You confront your thoughts. You refine your habits. You sharpen your mind. Each day in your fortress adds another layer of strength. This is how controlled environments turn men dangerous. Not dangerous in a violent way, but dangerous in a psychological way. Calm, disciplined, grounded, unshakable. Because here's the truth. Most men crumble when left alone with their mind. They become restless. They become anxious. They become bored. They cannot survive without noise, because they never built an internal identity worth being alone with. But you are different. You are using your home as the training ground for internal authority. Every moment you spend in focused solitude is another moment where your mental resilience strengthens. Every hour spent building yourself is an hour the average man spends weakening his potential. Inside your environment, you begin to understand the true meaning of control. You shape your mornings with intention. You craft your nights with discipline. You build rituals that reinforce who you are becoming. This is the birthplace of high-value identity. Not clubs, not crowds, not social circles. Your value is forged alone in the quiet hours, where no one is watching and no one is applauding. You train your mind. You build your body. You study your craft. You expand your skills. You sharpen your intuition and you perfect your discipline. And the result is simple. When you step outside, you move differently. You speak differently and you think differently. People feel something in you that they can't quite name ... A heaviness, a certainty, a quiet authority. That comes from building yourself in silence. This is why staying home is powerful, because the world outside can only distract you, but the world inside can rebuild you. Before we move on, declare your commitment to mastering your environment. Comment this right now. I shape my world with intention. Section 6. The power developed in strategic solitude. There is a powerful transformation that happens when a man chooses strategic solitude. Not loneliness, not avoidance, not retreat, but deliberate separation from the world so he can rebuild himself without interference. This is the stage where staying home becomes more than discipline. It becomes strategy. Most people misunderstand solitude. They think it means being disconnected, falling behind, missing out on life. But Machiavelli understood the truth. A man becomes most dangerous when he steps away to strengthen the foundations no one else can see. Strategic solitude is where your real evolution begins. At home, you are not bombarded with expectations. No one is trying to pull your attention. No one is demanding energy you don't want to give. No one is distracting you from your internal growth. In your own space, you finally have the freedom to think, to plan, to restructure your life with precision and authority. This is where inner power grows ... not in crowds, not in noise, but in intentional silence. During strategic solitude, your mind begins to expand in ways that would never be possible. While constantly interacting with the outside world, your ideas sharpen. Your emotional stability strengthens. Your sense of direction becomes unshakable and you start understanding yourself, not as you are, but as you could be. You begin to strip away old beliefs that no longer serve your rise. You identify weaknesses that must be eliminated. You recognize strengths that must be sharpened. You confront memories that shaped your identity. You rebuild boundaries that protect your mental fortress. This is psychological reconstruction and it can only happen in solitude. The world outside fears stillness. People drown themselves in noise because silence reveals their truth. But you are not like them. You use silence as a tool. You use stillness as a weapon. You use solitude as a training ground. In this solitude, you begin to control your impulses. You detach from emotional reactions. You think with clarity. You act with purpose. You stop being a man guided by urges and become a man guided by vision. Your confidence increases. Not because people praise you, but because you finally see what you're capable of. When the world stops distracting you, you begin building systems. Systems that remove chaos from your life, systems that keep you disciplined even on the worst days, systems that support your mission. Whether you feel motivated or not, you train your body, you read, you work on your craft, you upgrade your skills, you reinforce your standards again and again until your identity becomes bulletproof. And now, something shifts. Your solitude becomes your strength, your silence becomes your power, your home becomes your throne. Because while other men fear being alone, you thrive in it, you evolve in it, you grow in it. You become the kind of man who can walk into the world at any time and move with the calm confidence of someone who no longer needs approval, validation, or distraction. People feel this. They sense the stability in your energy. They sense the cold focus in your eyes. They sense the quiet authority in your presence. This is the result of strategic solitude, a man who cannot be shaken because he has already faced himself and mastered everything inside his own mind. And here is the final truth. The world respects the man who does the work in silence. The man who disappears to rebuild always returns unrecognizable. Before we continue to the next phase of your transformation, anchor this mindset by commenting, "My solitude makes me unstoppable." Section 7. The mind forged in isolation. There is a phase in your rise when staying home is no longer a tactic. It becomes the forge where your new identity is created. This is the phase where the world begins to lose its influence over you and you begin to gain influence over yourself. A dangerous transformation begins here. You start thinking independently. Most people don't truly think. They absorb, they imitate, they repeat. Their opinions come from the crowd. Their desires come from social pressure. Their behavior comes from whatever environment they step into. But when you stay home in controlled isolation, something profound happens. You begin to hear your own mind, not the world's voice, not society's conditioning, not the noise of weak men. Your voice, the internal voice that's been silenced for years. Under distractions, pressure, and external expectations, isolation filters the world and brings your true thoughts to the surface. At home, you finally have space to question your beliefs, to challenge your habits, to inspect your impulses with cold objectivity. You begin asking yourself powerful questions. Why do I act this way? What weaknesses still control me? What strengths am I ignoring? What identity am I unconsciously living under? Who am I actually trying to become? These are questions the world never gives you time to ask, but at home, inside your fortress, they become unavoidable, and the answers you find will reshape you. This is the beginning of independent thought, one of the rarest and most dangerous forms of power, because a man who thinks for himself cannot be manipulated. He cannot be led blindly. He cannot be influenced by trends, by opinions, by the emotional storms of the world. He becomes sovereign inside his own mind. Isolation creates this sovereignty. You begin to notice how many of your old choices were driven by pressure, by the need to fit in, to not disappoint, to be accepted, to avoid judgment. All of that dissolves the moment you step back and recalibrate your identity in solitude. At home, the real you emerges. The you beneath fear, the you beneath insecurity, the you beneath social expectation. This transformation is not soft, it is not gentle, it is not comforting. It is cold, unfiltered, and brutally honest. You begin identifying the thoughts that weaken you, and you eliminate them. You identify the behaviors that sabotage you, and you replace them. You identify the desires that distract you, and you starve them. Piece by piece, you begin shaping a mind that no longer reacts, A mind that calculates, observes, and chooses its moves with precision. This is the Machiavellian advantage of isolation. You become a man who influences reality, instead of being molded by it. And when a man is no longer shaped by the external world, his potential becomes limitless. Your emotional landscape shifts next. You begin to understand your emotions, the way a strategist understands battlefield terrain. You see where they appear, how they move, what triggers them, and how to shut them down when necessary. This is emotional sovereignty, not suppression, but mastery, a level of control only forged in silence. Then your habits begin aligning, not because you force them, but because you finally understand what you want and why you want it. Your habits stop being battles and start becoming expressions of the man you're becoming. Next, your goals evolve. The goals you once chased for validation fall away. The shallow goals disappear. The ego-driven goals dissolve. And what remains are the goals that actually belong to you. Your purpose clarifies, your mind stabilizes, and your direction becomes undeniable. At this stage, your solitude becomes addictive, not because you fear the world, but because you finally understand how much power you have. When you're not constantly drained by it, people start noticing changes. You speak with fewer words, but each one carries weight. You move with less noise, but more authority. You react less, but understand more. You give less energy away, but retain more strength internally. Your presence becomes heavier, sharper, more controlled. This is the mind forged in isolation, a mind the world cannot break. Because once you know who you are, without the world's influence, you become someone the world cannot manipulate. Before we continue, cement this transformation by commenting, "My mind is forged in silence." Section 8. The reconstruction of the inner kingdom. There comes a moment in a man's solitude when his mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a construction site, a place of rebuilding, reshaping, and re-engineering the very identity he carries into the world. This is the moment your inner world stops breaking you and starts serving you. In this stage, staying home becomes the birthplace of your rebirth, not the place where you hide, but the place where you construct, piece by piece, habit by habit, thought by thought, the man you will eventually present to the world. Inside your four walls, you begin rebuilding the inner kingdom. That determines every outcome in your external life. Your thoughts become the architects. Your discipline becomes the foundation. Your silence becomes the blueprint. Your routines become the workers, and your vision becomes the ruling king, issuing commands with clarity and authority. This is where isolation becomes transformation. You start examining your life, the way a strategist studies the flaws in his fortress, not emotionally, but analytically, not with shame, but with cold accuracy. You look at yourself without excuses. What behaviors weaken me? Which habits sabotage my growth? Where am I leaking discipline? What still controls me that I should already control? These are not easy questions. Most men never ask them because asking them requires courage. Courage to see the cracks in your character. Courage to admit what needs to be rebuilt. Courage to face the truth without flinching. But here, in controlled solitude, you stop hiding from yourself. You dissect yourself. You remove the emotional padding that protected your weaknesses. You expose every flaw, not to judge it, but to rewrite it. This is the reconstruction of your inner kingdom, the rebuilding of the man you were always meant to become. You begin with your mental architecture. You replace impulsive thinking with calculated responses. You replace self-doubt with strategic confidence. You replace emotional reactions with controlled execution. Your mind becomes organized. Less noise, less chaos, less clutter. Thoughts that once tangled you become straight lines. Ideas sharpen, priorities clarify. Your purpose rises, the way a structure rises from solid stone. Next comes the rebuilding of your emotional center. Most men are slaves to their emotions, pulled around by fear, anger, weakness, desire, and insecurity. But in solitude, you learn to observe your emotions as if they are separate from you. You don't drown in them, you study them, you trace them back to their origins, you understand their patterns, you learn where they come from. and how to silence them when necessary. This is emotional mastery, the ability to feel without being controlled, the ability to decide without being swayed, the ability to move, even when fear whispers otherwise. Then you rebuild your discipline, not the fragile discipline driven by motivation, but the cold, steady discipline forged through repetition. The discipline that doesn't ask how you feel, the discipline that doesn't need applause. The discipline that becomes identity, unbreakable, consistent, predictable. In a world full of men who are anything but, your environment strengthens next. The clutter disappears, the chaos fades. Your home becomes optimized, aligned, ordered. A laboratory for your evolution, a throne room for your authority. A place where every object, every routine, every choice supports the man you are building. In this environment, your old identity begins to shed. The boyish habits fall, the weak impulses shrink, the emotional dependency breaks, the shallow patterns dissolve. You are being rebuilt into the kind of man who no longer bends when the world pushes. Your new identity begins taking shape silently. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You move slower, but with more intention. You listen more, but understand deeper. Your presence becomes heavier, not aggressive, not loud, just undeniably grounded. This is the inner kingdom reconstructed, a kingdom built on clarity, discipline, and sovereignty. And once your inner kingdom is rebuilt, the outer world can no longer rule you. People sense the difference. They treat you differently. They respond to you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because you rebuilt yourself into a man who commands it naturally. This is the transformation that begins at home, in silence, in solitude, far from crowds that distract you and environments that dilute you. The world may never understand how you built this strength. They will only see the result. A man who no longer breaks under stress, no longer reacts to pressure, no longer follows the noise of the weak. A man who rules himself and therefore cannot be ruled. Before we continue to the next phase, declare your identity in the comments. I rebuild my kingdom from within. Section 9. The quiet expansion of power. There comes a stage in your evolution when staying home no longer feels like discipline. It feels like strategy, like preparation, like a silent expansion of the power inside you. This is the point where the work you've done in solitude begins radiating outward in ways you didn't expect. Subtle at first, but undeniable. Power changes shape in this stage. It stops being something you consciously build and starts becoming something you carry, effortlessly, naturally, without announcement. This is where staying home becomes your advantage. Inside your walls, you've rebuilt your habits. You've mastered your mind. You've organized your environment. You've forged emotional control. You've eliminated chaos. You've crafted discipline that doesn't break. Now, without even trying, your inner world begins influencing your outer world. This is the quiet expansion of power, the kind people sense before they understand. It shows up in small ways at first. You speak less, but your words land harder. You move slower, but with more precision. You react less, but observe more. You no longer need to chase opportunities. Opportunities start orbiting around your stability. That's the thing about disciplined solitude. It upgrades your presence without you having to broadcast anything. Most men try to force their image. They try to appear confident. They try to appear strong. They try to appear in control. But you don't appear anything. You are. And people feel it instantly. Your silence becomes authority. Your calmness becomes influence. Your stillness becomes commanding. There is something about a man who doesn't need attention or approval that feels magnetic and deeply intimidating. This is dark psychology in action, not manipulation, but awareness of how human minds respond to certainty and control. And you've built that certainty at home, in the hours when nobody watched, nobody applauded, nobody knew what you were becoming. Now, your growth begins to spill outward. You notice that conversations shift. People start choosing their words more carefully around you. They sense they cannot sway you. They sense you are not easily influenced. They sense you are anchored, and anchors make shallow people uneasy. Good. A man with inner power is supposed to make the weak uncomfortable. Your presence exposes their lack of discipline. Your direction exposes their aimlessness. Your silence exposes their noise. Don't shrink from this. Own it. This shift also brings clarity. You begin seeing through people, not in a mystical sense, but in a psychological one. You see the insecurity behind their arrogance, the fear behind their confidence, the desperation behind their friendliness, the chaos behind their humor. You become harder to fool because you've spent so much time observing yourself that you understand what drives others. This is the advantage of staying home. You grow in silence while the world keeps guessing who you're becoming. And as your inner identity expands, your standards expand with it. You no longer accept disorder. You no longer tolerate disrespect. You no longer entertain pointless interactions. You no longer attach yourself to unstable people. Your time becomes a territory. Your energy becomes a currency. Your attention becomes a weapon. And you deploy these resources strategically, the way a king deploys soldiers. Not emotionally, not recklessly, not under pressure. You choose where your mind goes. You choose where your effort goes. You choose who gains access to you. This is selective exposure -- the ability to engage only with what elevates you and cut off what doesn't, without hesitation. It's something only solitude can teach. Then comes the next shift. Your ambitions evolve. You no longer chase hollow goals meant to impress the world. You chase goals that reinforce your sovereignty, goals that strengthen your independence, goals that build your kingdom. Your dreams get bigger and somehow more realistic. Your vision becomes long-term because you are no longer distracted by short-term noise. This creates a new version of power, directional power. The ability to move toward a future with certainty without doubting yourself every 5 minutes. People feel this certainty. They sense it in your tone. They see it in your discipline. They notice it in your choices. Your lifestyle becomes an unspoken message. I know where I'm going, and I don't need validation to get there. That alone separates you from 99% of men. And finally, there is the deepest shift. You begin to crave solitude, not because you need it to escape the world, but because you understand that solitude is where your evolution accelerates. You don't fear silence, you depend on it. You don't hide from isolation. You train in it. You don't avoid the world. You simply don't let it interfere with your construction. This is the quiet expansion of power, the moment your internal transformation begins shaping the external world around you. Before we continue, claim this evolution by commenting, "My power grows in silence."